Hello and welcome to Some of My Friends Read Comics. We've got Vince.
I've strapped a bomb to every penguin I could get my hands on.
We got Chris.
Welcome to the Detective Club.
All right, and I'm Kia. Hello, welcome to the show. We are talking about Batman, specifically some detective comics. Didn't we do Batman last time?
Yes, we did. That Batman was Year 100.
Right, for our 100th episode. And now Detective Comics 1000 just came out. Wow, so many issues of Detective Comics.
How many?
All of them, every single one of them starring Batman, right?
Yep.
Yeah, no. Detective Comics was, I guess, some comics about detectives for the first 26 issues. Probably longer than that, because Detective Comics 27, when Batman made his debut, was still pretty detective heavy and not very bat heavy. We'll get to that.
I think it's probably weirder that Superman was Action Comics 1. I think that might actually be weirder, because like Spider-Man didn't show up till Amazing Fantasy 15, obviously.
Oh, so you're saying Superman's the outlier here.
Yeah, because what does Thor show up? Like Journey into Mystery, one of the 80s?
Right, yeah. All the Iron Man, Captain America, yeah, all that stuff.
Strange Tales, something for Doctor Strange. It's not Strange Tales 1, right? So
No, but yeah, Action Comics, they're like, no, this is action Superman.
Yeah. The most action-y thing you can think of. Well, that's Superman, duh.
He's picking up a
reading...
car. He's punching it. Oh, that's Captain America punching Hitler.
Yeah, but he is picking up a car while that guy in the foreground actually is freaking out, like, what the hell?
Yeah, that's good stuff. So we're reading Detective 27, Detective 1000, and then we're also continuing our run of Secret Wars. We're almost done. We're on number 11. We'll get to that afterwards here. But yeah, let's jump right into Detective Comics 27. Let's do it. I really did not know what to expect from this, because we had read Batman #1 a while back, right? And it was just like a regular case, like Joker stealing some diamonds.
Which is actually highly referenced like a lot in it even kind of forms the backbone of like the Joker's killing spree in the Gotham Central book we read. Batman, the Man Who Laughs by Ed Brubaker, even Dark Knight kind of follows.
I was gonna say the Dark Knight really borrowed from it. You could tell.
Yeah, it's like okay, I'm not going to read many of these nerdy comic books. I'm just going to read one. Let's just start with Batman #1. Okay, cool. That's our movie. I'm done.
Yeah.
But great. No, that was a really that's a solid Batman story. Whereas Detective 27, I also had no idea what to expect. I was not expecting Bruce Wayne and Jim Gordon to be friends.
Right. So here's how it's going. Jim Gordon is just talking to Bruce Wayne. They're hanging out, and Jim Gordon gets a call that someone's been murdered. And Bruce Wayne says, "Yeah, sure. I got nothing going on. I'll come along."
I think it's like, hey, I'm bored. You want to go check out a murder?
Yep.
Sure. It's like it's like those Hey Freakazoids that we used to always make fun.
Exactly.
Hey Freakazoid, you want to go see a bear jump on top of a ball? Do I ever?
Yeah. Except Bruce Wayne's really, really bored about it. He's like, oh hum.
Yeah.
Has that guy been murdered? Who cares?
And crime is a fucking boring crime as well. It's like contract disputes and like secret contracts. Like this guy's dead, and it was part of these 4 people who one of them made a secret contract. I don't care about any of this. Whatever. Bruce Wayne figures it out, and he says, "All right, I'm out of here. I'm bored of this crime."
Yeah, I figured it out too. It's the one with the evil name.
What was the evil name?
I forget. It was the third. The third of the 3 names has an evil sound, and I'm like, it's that one.
Yeah.
It's got to be that. That makes sense.
And they even tried to obscure it by it was your assistant who tried to murder me. And he was like, well, the assistant was working for me because I'm actually the real bad guy. I'm like, okay, fine. 6 pages. You don't need to add another layer of obscurity to be the assistant was bad, but the real guy was fine. It doesn't matter.
So maybe I was thinking of Amazing Fantasy and everything, but I thought this was going to be a Batman origin story because I've never actually read that.
No, because this is Gordon and his weird rich friend Bruce Wayne, who's I gotta go, whatever. This isn't exciting enough for me. And then at the very end, which I think is even teased on the cover, it's actually the Batman was Bruce Wayne all along, and that's your big thing that's supposed to carry you.
Yeah.
Not oh my goodness, like the morality tale of if he had only stopped the criminal, then Uncle Ben would still be alive. Like that stuck with me. This one did not. I don't. But I do have two things I really loved about this one. One,
Sure.
Batman is always in quotes, like they're saying it ironically, like
Right.
the Batman.
And it's the Bat Dash Man, like the Batman. Yeah, whatever.
But they even use other things sarcastically in quotes like later in the story, so like they know that quotes are sarcastic. And then two,
I don't know. I think you're giving them too much or too little credit, Vince.
I also like that he defeats the bad guy by throwing him in a vat of acid, because I guess that's just Batman's go-to move.
Yep.
Yeah, well, and, Kia, you were saying how little you cared about all this. They do see that, it's like Batman, as much as his, clowns and all these other things are his nemesis, it's really chemicals are his nemesis. Because they're right there in the first issue. Like, these four old men run a chemical business.
Apex Chemical. Is the Joker's is Ace Chemical, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's a different chemical company, but right from the beginning, his first case, he's like, oh, these four guys, they run a chemical company, and he just punches one of them into a vat of chemicals. They're like, wow, that guy died, and he's just like, good, he deserved it.
So can I tell you my favorite thing from all this is Batman at one point like snatches a piece of paper as like a clue from somewhere, and he's sitting in his car reading it with this smile on his face that I just love. And then as he drives away, you see that it's just like a red car. It's just like Batman sitting in this red car, very pleased with this clue that he's found and enjoying a nice drive on a nice sunny day. It's beautiful. I love it.
Yeah, I just love Batman in his roadster out for a Sunday drive.
But yeah, definitely not the Batman that I expected from this, but I'm glad I've read it now. I can't believe I had never read this.
I'm surprised too. Nowhere to go but up, though.
Yeah. Well, can I tell? I do really like the design of the actual bat, like cowl. It's got ears that are pointing up, like especially on that last page. In some panels, he looks a bit like a bit of an egghead, but for the most of them, where his head looks nice and lean with the nice pointy ears, I think it's a good look.
Yeah, he does have a good, kind of spooky design, and I like that they kind of put him in shadow a lot. I mean, when you put him next to like the Green Llama or somebody like that, just like a really doofusy dork, Batman seems cool by comparison.
Good job,
Stryker.
Finger.
That was the bad guy's name, Stryker. I should have known.
Yeah, Stryker, like William Stryker from X-Men.
X-Men,
even with a Y.
Yep, exactly. That's how I knew. I was just like, that's the most evil sounding name.
It's gotta be.
But good job, Bill Finger.
Yeah.
You
Bill Finger, the artist. Yeah.
You deserve more credit. I think it was the same as like Spider-Man, where Bob Kane was like, I have an idea for a Batman. That's it. Print it. And Bill Finger's like, well, okay. Well, I gotta figure this shit out. And I'll design everything for you. And then we'll get created by Bob Kane with Bill Finger 80 years later.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. So
apparently he created Commissioner Gordon as well, based on that comic that I read about it, where it's like, what exciting crimes will you solve, Batman? He's like, I don't know. Like, I am based on Leonardo da Vinci's Batman. Isn't that enough?
So when was his origin story revealed?
Do you know?
I think I need to look that up, because I don't know that I've ever read it, and now I'm really curious. I think at some point for the show we should read Batman's origin.
I don't know.
Maybe for our next anniversary, whatever it is.
The first time it was told? I don't know when that would be.
I'm looking it up. We got to know.
I do know that I think Grantland, before it shuttered, they did a review of every single death of the Waynes in film.
Oof.
Because they go back to that well a lot. I even
Detective Comics 33.
Okay.
And then later fleshed out in Batman 47.
Okay.
Amazing. Okay. So I think we'll have to read those at some point. Mm-hmm. I'm very curious. Very curious. But I think we are on to Detective Comics number 1000. A 96-page giant. A landmark issue.
A very important issue.
That doesn't say that on the cover.
No, it doesn't. This is probably like Action Comics 1000 last year. This may be the only floppy comic, like individual comic I buy or read all year. I read pretty much everything digitally or in trade.
Yeah, yeah. So refresh our memory. What was Action 1000 like? I do remember that Bendis story. It was like his debut,
so
right?
it was episode 80 for us, if those you want to go back to check it out. It was right around Free Comic Book Day. So it was our Free Comic Book Day episode. So it had been early May, late April last year. It similarly had a bunch of short stories by Superman's historical artists. So there was a Dan Jurgens story. They found some old Kurt Swan art that had never been published, and they kind of assembled it together in a new story. Then they had Bendis for the last story, because I think that may have been Bendis's first DC published work, because he just become exclusive. But they did a good job of like putting in as many like people who were still living and still active. They tried to give them each different individual stories. My personal favorite of the whole one was by Peter Tomasi, and I think it's Patrick Zurcher. I can never remember Patrick Zurcher or Patrick Gleason, one of those two. And that was very similar to Peter Tomasi's story in Detective, where it was a bunch of one-page spreads with narration over it.
Yeah, I remember now. I can't say that I remember a whole lot from Action Comics 1000, but I feel like it had less stories than this. This felt like it had a whole lot of stories.
This one had like 10 different stories in it. They also assembled it a little different. Like this book had all of its stories and then a bunch of pinups at the back. This one, that one had its pinups just in the middle, randomly in between issues. Chris, you made the very accurate observation that I think also applies here. Is kind of like a wrestling show in that everybody was backstage and then realized they were all telling the same story. And nobody was really collaborating. Because when I see an anniversary issue like this and I'm thinking, okay, it's 96 pages, there's a lot of different ways you could go. They chose to do, like Spider-Man will often like end a story or kick off a big story. But with Action, they was like, well, let's just do like a historical thing and we'll look at all facets of Batman or Superman, whoever happens to be celebrating their anniversary. And we made the predictions like, well, the Bat family is so important to Batman. Obviously, what they're going to do is they'll probably have a story about different characters. Like they'll focus one on Alfred, obviously. This is what you said, Chris. They'd be crazy not to. And they certainly didn't do that in this book.
No, they really did.
But, I mean, they did. They sort. I mean, they have one on Robin, and Alfred's sort of in that one. But yeah.
But like, my criticism of Action Comics at the time, and this will bear through Detective, was that they didn't choose to focus on different aspects of the characters. Like, if I would say like, let's make a Lois Lane focused story, maybe a Superman with the Justice League story, maybe Superman with like Ma and Pa Kent Smallville story, make a like each different like kind of like type of Superman story, try to get them all in. And Batman's a similar character. Like I would do something with like Alfred, something with the family, something definitely spotlighting the rogues, because he's got a great rogues gallery. That's what I would expect coming in.
Right, do like a Frank Miller type, 80s type story. Do like a
the Batman 66 even.
And they even have like, I mean, they have Kelly Jones, 90s, 80s artist, who I don't always love his work, but he's a very stylish artist. So the art talent is, I think, way better than the Action Comics art.
Yeah, that's accurate.
Okay.
So I mean, like the art talent here is great.
Yeah, I agree. I really enjoyed. Overall, I just felt like I liked this one more than Action. But yeah, it has a lot of those same problems where it was like, if that's what this story is about, like that's what y'all did. Okay, that's fine. I guess that's what you're doing.
It's also like kind of weird when you're like, let's celebrate 1,000 issues of Detective Comics by putting it in a format that it's never in. Like 8-page stories, like it doesn't seem to like work well with the format of like telling a full like a classic Batman story.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, it should be a Green Arrow backup, because that is the classic detective story, is an 8-page backup of Green Arrow or some other
Slam
superhero.
Bradley.
Yeah, exactly.
Some of these writers really had a tough time framing a full and competent story in 8 pages. I think it's fun stuff. We'll get to.
So, do we want to just? Oh, and also like Action, they had a different cover, a variant cover for every decade. in the style of like comics
Oh,
of
I
that
didn't
time.
look at those.
So
Yeah, that's cool.
I got the Detective 90 because it has the font that I'm so used to seeing like on the newsstand. Like it was by Tim Sale, but I just liked how it had the way the Detective Comics like logo looked in the 90s. So I got that one.
That's nice. Very good. I only saw the wraparound cover by Jim Lee, which is nice if you like Jim Lee stuff. It's like has everyone on it.
But like,
That's nice.
Bruce Timm did the 1940s cover, Jim Steranko did the 60s cover, Frank Miller did the 80s cover, Bernie Wrightson did the 70s cover, Jock did the 2000s. That makes sense.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check those out. I'm gonna pull them up and look in the middle of us talking about them. No, I'm not. I'm gonna have my full focus on this episode that we're recording for you, our lovely listeners.
So yeah, we start with Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo. Are they still an active team for Batman books? They were for a long time.
I don't believe so because they were the New 52 team. So they did. So Scott Snyder has kind of been the flagship Batman writer of I think this decade, although he's been kind of siphoned off to the side for Rebirth. But he came on when he took over Detective Comics when Batman was dead, Bruce Wayne was dead, and Nightwing was Batman to end Detective Comics right after the Batwoman run that we read by Greg Rucka. And then they started with the New 52. He and Greg Capullo did all 52 issues of that. So, and Greg Capullo, I think, is like a 90s artist that I never really gave much attention to, but he really came into his own with Batman.
Yeah, I mean, he was always kind of in the like Jim Lee mold, and I mean, obviously, Todd McFarlane hired him to do Spawn, is kind of like where he kind of got famous, sort of anyway. Was he did a long run of Spawn comics after Todd McFarlane, of course, stopped doing Spawn. But he's a good artist.
Yeah, and so I mean, like right off the bat, I'm like, okay, cool. Like, but then Tom King took over with Batman Rebirth, and he's been kind of the flagship writer of Batman since. And so I was excited. I was like, oh, cool. Like Snyder and Capullo are back together. Like this is a very important Batman team. They invented the Court of Owls. They did a lot of important stories. They did that Jim Gordon as Batman arc, Batman Endgame. It was all really good stuff. And so I'm like, all right, cool. Like we're having a classic-ish Batman team, like reuniting. So here we go.
Yeah, so it was really this was like a story focusing on Batman as a detective. It like begins with him and he's got a clue from that first case of his, and it was like a piece of glass from such and such place, and it's like traveling all over the world throughout his lifetime, little by little solving this crime.
Which I did think was a cool detail, having just read 27, that I'm like, wow, that's such a cool Easter egg. That is like they literally took that out of the first case of being like, oh, I found a clue at the scene of the first crime that I was ever investigating as Batman. I'm like, that's cool.
And he is... Wait, is that his first crime, though?
I mean, it's his first
don't they
comic.
mention in that issue that he's been running around? Everyone's like, oh, this Batman character.
I feel like the continuity of Detective 27 should not be adhered to.
Okay, fair.
Write in to DC Comics and explain. Actually, this was canonically Batman's not his first appearance.
Bob Kane is a hack.
Commissioner Gordon is telling Bruce Wayne that he's heard of the Batman already?
This is my idea for a new series. I'm going to count backwards from Detective 26, 25 to Detective 1. And these are all going to be his warm-up cases.
Oh, that's funny. I do really... do you remember the book Miranda Mercury? I really loved it was only a 6-issue book, but it started with issue 295 and built up to its 300th anniversary issue. So it was acting like it was a comic that had existed for a long time, building to a big anniversary. I thought it was a cool concept. I don't think in execution it worked, but
I like that idea, but I also feel like that would alienate a lot of people.
Yeah.
So back to the story at hand here. Batman is jumping, like globe hopping, and finally he solves this mystery, and it gets him to an apartment in Gotham, and it is the what do they call themselves? The Guild of Detectives, and it's the Question, Hawkman, Hawkgirl, Martian Manhunter, Detective Chimp, Slam Bradley. Who's Slam Bradley from? What do I know him?
Yeah, he had a backup story in Detective Comics. He was his backup story helped introduce the new Catwoman with Ed Brubaker and Darwin
Oh,
Cook.
yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, that's how I know who he is.
Yeah, there's a couple others I don't really recognize.
He's got to have been
but
in the animated series too, I feel.
Probably.
I don't
Actually,
remember
that's-
him being in it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like I've seen
Maybe
him in a cartoon. Maybe I'm thinking of one of the DC animated movies.
Well, it doesn't really matter too much. They're just like, hey,
No,
we're
we're
all
digging into
good
Slam
detectives.
Bradley right now. We've only got 4 pages into this 96 thing, and we've been going for 20 minutes. We're digging in.
The detectives are all hanging out, and they're like, all right, we're gonna finally let Batman into our club of good detectives because he solved the crime. Which, again, canonically, does this mean that this guild had formed before Detective Comics number 27 and put a clue there for Batman to find, so that decades later he would come find them?
I think that's what we're saying here.
Okay, got it. Great. It was a cute story. It's like them saying, "Oh, the mystery is never ending." We're here because we love mysteries, and you love mysteries too, man.
Do they just sit around and like read Agatha Christie books together?
Yeah,
like a book
I'm not
club?
really sure what all those like Batman pulls a book off the shelf, and it's like you're always only at the very beginning, and he's like amazed by what he's seeing, but I don't know.
I don't know if this is launching into a new book or not, or it seems like a weird
No.
ending. You know, it seems like
It was
No.
a weird.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it just reads more like an Alan Moore type story, where it's just like, the joke is that he's, kind of metatextually like, oh, you're in a story or whatever, like, or it's like the big questions, the big mysteries kind of type things. That's what I got out of it anyway.
The real mystery was the friends we made along the way.
Exactly.
Yeah. So the next one that we have is a Kevin.
It was the true name of God. That's what Batman saw.
Oh, that makes sense.
This
sense.
reminds-
Maybe he found out that he killed his parents.
I feel like this.
no.
I feel like this club existed in one of my favorite animated movies of the recent years, Scooby Doo meets Batman: Brave and the Bold. And the detective.
Imagine if Scooby Doo was in this club.
He is.
Yeah.
They invited him in. He passed. They pulled the masks. Velma solved that the true criminal was Martian Manhunter and Detective Chimp. She pulled the masks off of them, and it was Martian Manhunter and Detective Chimp. And I'm like, this is amazing. And then they allowed them into the Detectives Guild or whatever,
Right.
like the Gotham Mystery Society.
It's great. So our next story is by Kevin Smith and Jim Lee. It is about some guy who's at a pawn shop that is.
It matches Malone.
Matches
so it's
Malone.
Batman.
Oh, I'm sorry.
This
Matches
is like
Malone.
it's like a Mike Murdoch situation.
Right.
We're just
Right. It's like we're. Oh, well, so we weren't supposed. So we were supposed to know that this was Batman the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Like I knew, but I didn't really know that this was one of Bruce Wayne's like permanent alter egos. So I was just like, oh, I guess the twist. I guess.
This book is real inviting to people who came off of the street and thought, "Oh, 1,000th issue. That's something I should read."
Yeah.
It's real inviting.
Yeah, this is just a Jim Lee splash page collection that Kevin Smith, I guess, put some words over. It's nothing.
It's like. So he's there looking for the gun that killed his parents, right? And he buys a bunch for it so that he can melt it down and then turn it into a shield that is going to protect him.
Mm-hmm.
Which, like, I guess that's okay. I don't know. It didn't feel. It was weird.
See, so actually, this is my favorite story of all of them.
Really?
I think the first half was kind of ho hum, but I'm like, this little like maudlin emotional manipulation. I'm like, this makes sense to me. I like it.
Okay.
It showed me basically Batman fighting all of his rogues, which I don't really get throughout the rest of this book.
Well, the
No,
rest one.
it was
the
pretty
rest
lame.
one-
And you minus 1,000,000 points for putting whatever cacophony or what that guy's name is from the Widening Gyre, Kevin Smith. Only you care about that guy, Kevin Smith. Nobody even knows his name.
Which one is he? Is he the one with all the scratches on him?
He's the guy that looks like Bullseye, but instead of a bullseye, he just has like sound waves or whatever, and he shoots guns.
Okay.
Yeah,
I don't know who that is.
Is Kevin Smith important to the history of Batman?
I mean, he wrote The Widening Gyre. Who could forget?
He wrote Mallrats, which opened up the world of comic books to a whole new audience, I guess.
Did you hear that? Did you hear that they actually for Stan Lee's cameo where he was reading in Captain Marvel, where he's reading the Mallrats lines?
The Mallrats script, yeah.
Yeah, those Stan Lee had actually passed away before that. They did their ADR, so they actually took outtakes from that movie that Kevin Smith gave them to give Stan Lee for that movie for Captain Marvel.
Oh, that's nice.
So that was
That's
cool.
cool.
I think originally probably was plotted for Captain Marvel to beat the shit out of Stan Lee, but that wouldn't have played really well.
Yeah.
What?
I
I don't think that would have been.
That's
the plan, Vince.
I think it was. I think it would have
No.
been hilarious
No.
if she had thrown Stan Lee out of a bus.
Let's take it back to this thing. With the next one is the one that for me was my favorite of the Rogues Gallery stories because it's Paul
Yeah,
Dini.
we agree.
The Legend of Newt Brody. He's like the worst henchman. All the villains hate him. Every time he fucks up with one of them, they like kill him, fire him, whatever. But this guy always
you're
seems to
right. This
keep
one
on
was pretty
showing
good
up.
too.
Yeah. My favorite was all the henchmen hanging out with the Mad Hatter, and the Mad Hatter's like, "You have read the book, right?" Which is just, that tickled me. The idea that he would expect all of his henchmen to read Alice in Wonderland.
It's part of employee orientation.
Yeah, or that he would just assume that they already have and not check is even funnier for me.
I also my favorite part of this one was where Batman wanted to get the code out of the Riddler, and then he just roughed up Newt Brody. He's like, code now, and then Newt Brody's like, it's 7982. Riddler's like, God damn it, that was pretty good. You just told him? He's scary. Killer is awesome.
But of course, we find out that this Brody character has just been a different member of the Bat family, pretending to be some undercover henchman. Which, of course, you can guess as you're going, but I still thought it was a fun story.
Yeah, I didn't guess that twist until like the last one because I was just like until the end, until Poison Ivy's. I was like, you could believe someone is this incompetent, but then Poison Ivy's, you're like, wait a minute.
Mm-hmm. And then the little gag at the end is that Damien wants to be Brody Jr. Oh, Damien.
Yeah, this was my favorite. This was Paul Dini and Dustin Nguyen.
Yeah.
Which they did a run on Detective a few times ish. I want to say Paul Dini's written Detective before. He wrote a really good Joker story about a decade ago. I don't know if Wynn was on that or if that was a different run.
I know they've worked together at least once.
Because he's got kind of that or at least with the coloring, it looks a little like a Bruce Timm style, but not entirely, but very cartoony.
Yeah.
But and I like this, but it reflects part of my problem in the construction of this book is like we have two Batman opposing alter ego stories like back to back.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very weird. And they were both also Rogues Gallery stories. Combined with alter ego stories. Okay, whatever. The next one is a What Does Batman Mean story. And then actually there's like two of those in a row again.
Yeah.
The first one is Warren Ellis and Becky Cloonan.
I actually like this one okay.
I really did not like this one. I just couldn't like...
I like the art.
Yeah, the art was really nice.
Because
Actually,
Becky Cloonan fucking
my
rules.
favorite art.
Yeah.
This was my favorite art for the whole thing. I just didn't much care about the story. I didn't know what was going on. It was like some kid was going to blow something up, and Batman says, like, is this what you want for yourself? And I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's like Warren Ellis had like his laziest, but it's fine. And yet Becky Cloonan's art's really good, so I liked it.
Yeah. And then we have it was we just did that one. Denny O'Neil and Steve Epstein, which again, probably my second favorite.
Yeah,
as well.
This I did not like as much, just because Steve Epstein's art, which I normally like, was a little, I don't know, like everything looked a little like statues to me.
It wasn't shaded quite as nicely, I might say. I don't know. There was something off, but I still like his style so much. Like, I feel like the first pages of this story are way better than the last few pages of this story, except for Leslie Tompkins, who looks like a monster. every panel that she's in.
She's turning into a monster.
And it has such a sensational kind of like Return to Crime Alley cover on it, where I thought she might be the villain of this story.
The problem is these. I mean, or not problem, but I like that these stories kind of juxtapose themselves, because Batman is very much like delighting and causing people pain in the first issue, or in the Warren Ellis story, whereas this whole story is, Batman, you're a monster. You're just beating up on these poor kids. You're a rich man just going and delighting and like beating up petty crimes. Because the Warren Ellis story actually started to like bother me, because he did that kind of thing where he was like, they've got armor, they've got powers, that's great. That means I don't have to hold back. And I'm like, so you have this code that you don't kill, but you still really want to beat the shit out of people. And so like it doesn't make sense to me. And then like he's like, they're bad guys, but they're just trying to survive. That's said in one panel, and then like 2 panels later, his medical bills are going to bankrupt him. What a rich asshole! Like,
yeah, like what's wrong with you, Batman?
The healthcare sucks in this country. I caused this. I'm not going to kill them. I'll just bankrupt them and their families. That'll be way better. But they're just they're poor people trying to survive, doing anything they can in this terrible country. Like, what the fuck? But that's why I like Leslie Tompkins.
No, I mean, in the Warren Ellis story, he does go out his way to be like, these guys are like super criminal mercenaries.
Yeah.
But then Leslie Tompkins is like, come on, like, don't beat up these kids. So I appreciate again the juxtaposition. Like, depending on the writer, you're gonna get either like a super fascist Batman or not. So
yeah. This one is he's literally attacking children, and Leslie's like, Bruce, no, which is like, shut up. They're gonna be 2 and 2 together and be like, Bruce.
Yeah. Oh yeah, she did just yell Bruce. What? Come on.
Other villains put 2 and 2 together a little later on.
So the next few were very weird for me. The next one is Christopher Priest and Neil Adams.
No, we skipped. So the last one was just by Denny O'Neil. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Major Batman writer.
Gotcha. Oh yeah. So Christopher Priest, probably most well known for his Black Panther run, and for Woody, Quantum and Woody. Have you ever read Quantum and Woody? I might want to read some of that at some point.
No. But also editing Spider-Man. I guess.
Oh yeah.
He's less kind of famous for it, but that's the other like major thing he did.
He created the Dora Lamage, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
And maybe Everett Scott for Black
Panther. I think so.
Yeah. So we have a dead body. It turns out to be some like League of Assassins type of stuff with, so he goes back home. It feels more like the beginning of a story than an actual story. And the weird thing is that this is how his Black Panther run also started, where like someone from Wakanda murdered someone to get him to go back to Wakanda to like deal with some shady stuff from his past. And that's exactly what's going on here. Batman has to go back to Tibet to deal with some wrongs he's committed against somebody or whatever. And I was like, oh, okay. I guess I would read this by Christopher Priest if I hadn't already read it before. Yeah. And then to make matters worse, the next story is
and Neil Adams is
doing a Daredevil story again.
Yeah, Neil Adams' art. I mean, I don't know. I don't think we've talked about it on the show before. Neil Adams' art used to be very like realistic looking, and we did it. We just talked about it 2 episodes ago. Yeah, like how great it was. It's not so great.
I've not liked this scratchy art style. Like I've not liked it because he had this. Was it Batman Confidential? Batman something I bought of his because I'm like, oh, Denny O'Neil, like not Denny O'Neil, Neil Adams. He's a big like Batman artist. Like I'm gonna read like his new current work, and it was just like I don't like this scratchy style that he has because like everything that he did like for Avengers in the 70s and even like his Batman of the 70s is very like his line work is very neat and it looks very dynamic in a way that like no other artist really of that time did. And so it's kind of disappointing to see this art this way.
Yeah. So I actually really like this style of art. I like scratchy stuff like that, but I don't think this particular story looks all that great, with the exception of those soldiers in Tibet they're all wearing orange and stuff. I think they look really good. And there's like flashes of that kind of stuff throughout this book, like little bits of a scene that look amazing. But overall, the faces just seem kind of off for me, and that
It's weird that he can draw Ra's al Ghul out of character or off model. It's like you created this design. Like that's your guy.
To be fair, 50 years ago. Like
I guess it has been almost it's been like almost 50 years or wow. But it's like I don't know.
Like cuz Kree Skrull War was 45 years ago or maybe even more. So
yeah, so I guess it has been almost 50 years. To be fair, he's still doing work. He can draw better than me. I am not.
Have you tried? Have you tried to draw Ra's al Ghul ever?
Some of it's also just the inking. I've not been pleased with like the way it's inked, but I don't really want to like make too much fun.
Yeah, let's not get.
Let's move on.
But it does end with the beginning ... and I'm like, this story's not going anywhere. Come on.
What? Yeah. Let's move on to the next story. I hated it even more than this one.
I didn't hate that one more. I thought it was.
Well, yeah, I didn't hate that story. Yeah, I was frustrated by it.
Of all of them, this was probably the best structured in terms of, hey, we're like giving you a quick little story, and it's going to be over, and it's going to be doing its own thing, and it's like, okay, except it's just like it really felt like the Owl telling Daredevil that he had discovered his secret identity or whatever, or like that Kingpin stuff from Daredevil.
Yeah.
The only twist here is that they're old men and that Bruce Wayne has lasers in his wheelchair. Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, I mean, because it is Bendis and Maleev, the Daredevil team.
So it's hard not to evoke that, right?
I mean, it's almost like they are evoking it, which then is like fucked up because I'm like, this is Batman's party. We're not talking about Daredevil. Don't remind me of Daredevil here.
Yeah.
Like this is Batman's party. That said, I really do like that 2-page spread that starts off the story. Mostly because I love penguins with rocket ships.
It's so good. Yeah, those penguins down there with the bombs
and the way it spreads and the kind of like watercolor background and the kind of like faint outlines of buildings. Like I really love that design. I like Maleev's style when he really is. He's actually been like kind of missing it for the last decade or so since Daredevil ended. I feel like Maleev's been kind of off, but. But this is a really nice return to form. But then I
would put that on my wall.
I mean, like 3 panels of this are a return to form, and then he does those panels again and again and again.
Yeah, that's also true. And I really do love that Daredevil run. I think it holds up. But this is very much just a Daredevil short story. And I feel like again, this is one of those ones like I don't think Bendis and Maleev have enough of a history with Batman to have earned a place in this book.
No.
Yeah.
No. I hated this. It's just like the comic community has like given Greg Land shit for like a decade and a half for photo referencing and tracing, and it's just like Alex Maleev could not be more obvious what he's doing here. That he's just tracing Danny DeVito. Like, come on, man. Like, and then taking his own image and then tracing that or photoshopping that, and it's just like that's lazy, man. Like especially in a 96-page thing when you're doing like 6 pages, like this is pretty lazy.
Yeah, I would say Greg Land was doing it very differently in a way that is more hateable, if that makes sense. There's just something inherent.
It's
you're right. You're right.
Same thing though. He's doing the same stuff.
You're right.
Where it's just like he's not.
I just don't hate the output as much. I think with Greg Land, the output is like, all right, come on, cheesecake. Let's
I mean,
get
Land
here.
was also just taking like stills and porn shots and like lingerie images and then tracing over them, and then also was at the advent of like digital airbrush coloring, which looks weird and is atypical, especially for early 2000s. Although Land does have some pretty good art every now and then.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, if you go back to like Birds of Prey in the 90s, like Greg Land can draw.
All of his monster art is fantastic. All of his non-human art is great.
Yeah, like I said, if you go back to Birds of Prey in the 90s, like he could draw before he could photo reference.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. This story was really bad.
I liked it, but
yeah, I liked it too. I'm sorry. I hated it, but I liked it.
It really, like I said, it really reminded me of like a Daredevil story that I liked 15 years ago. But that's just frustrated me more because it's just like when, when Bendis had Green Goblin or Norman Osborn be like, I'm going to make a Dark Avengers for the second time.
I hated it until I read the next one, which was so completely incoherent that I was like, oh my god, can we please go back to the Bendis one?
Yeah, so the Bendis one, there is one detail I really liked. It was because basically the Penguin figured out that Bruce Wayne was Batman. So he kidnapped, or he thought was testing the theory, so he kidnapped Bruce Wayne to try to lure Batman out. And Bruce Wayne just kind of cried the whole time.
Well, no, Penguin didn't even do that.
Okay.
He's talked out of it because some other guy says, I kidnapped Bruce Wayne.
Oh, okay.
And he cried.
But I like the idea of Bruce Wayne like as his like deterrent of just like crying like a rich playboy. Like that's a fun detail that I hadn't thought would have happened, but seems very in character. I thought that was really cute. And also, so I really like that. And I think
I can't really see that happening though, because every Batman comic I've ever read with Bruce Wayne, like he can't break character for like 10 seconds. Like the second someone's back is turned, he's like, how can I solve this riddle? Like,
well, their back wasn't turned then, I guess.
Yeah.
And then compared to Bendis' Action Comics story from last year, which I guess isn't fair, but this is way better because that was like people you've never seen before talking in a coffee shop about like Superman and like one time I got kidnapped by this villain, blah 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 blah. I got saved by this because I'm a real person in a real world talking like a Tarantino character. And then like a villain shows up like I actually destroyed Krypton. I'm like, go fuck yourself. This is stupid. So compared to that, this is a major step up. And also I like that Daredevil run.
Yeah, the thing is they're both bad constructions for stories. Like I don't know. Like it's very frustrating,
no,
you know. Like,
can we please, I'm dying to get to the Jeff Johns story.
Let's go to the Jeff Johns story, which is also bad.
Oh my god, it is like okay, so it is like fan service, but just leading to nothing in the worst way. But like,
I thought I missed a page.
Yeah, I feel like I missed so much from
I thought it ended and wrote all my notes about it and then flipped the page. I'm like, oh, there's still 2 more pages of this. Because it acted like it ended and then didn't. Like, this is one of the Jeff Johns, famous DC writer, I think, like, very high up, a high executive now in DC, which I guess is why you can't say, no, bro, like, maybe you need to rewrite this because this was not good. Maybe the boss man shouldn't turn in this story. It's just
and the art not too great either. Like I don't know what's going on with Catwoman on that first page.
Who's Kelly Jones? Chris?
I don't know anything about her.
Him, Kelly Jones. Sure. Kelly Jones was the writer or the artist for I think Batman during Nightfall. Okay. So if you ever read those gigantic library copies of Nightfall,
Bane broke Batman's back.
Yes, he was one of the artists during that series, and I think he created maybe the Max. He created one of those, like Dark Horse.
I can see that just by the way that people are built. They're kind of like meathead muscles. I can see that.
Yeah, I think I would like that. Kind of. I do like that kind of style. Really makes sense here.
And so I liked him as the Batman artist at the time. He definitely, was a very stylized artist, and he was opposite a very traditional artist on Detective Comics at the time. And so it was a huge contrast considering they were sharing storylines. So it'd be like, week to week, you'd have this guy, who would have exaggerated proportions where Batman's, horns are 6 feet long. But yeah, it can be hard sometimes to follow his storytelling. But this is a weird story.
Because it's Batman in the future.
Yes.
Yeah, it's in the future. The whole Bat family, which is Batman, his son Damian as Robin, Catwoman's daughter Echo, and Ace the Bat Hand, of course, which is how it whatever. And there's some birthday party, and 12 people have been murdered, and like the Joker is one. There's one part where Commissioner Gordon calls in and says, "Oh, by the way, the Joker was dead last night." It's like, so it can't be the Joker. Okay, who could it be? Like, it felt so off to me.
Yeah. And I like too when they're like, at first I thought it was Holiday. And it's like, shut up.
And it turns out to be the son of the Joker. Like
nobody care. I guess I'm the spoilsport who doesn't care about the Long Halloween and Holiday, but it's just like, stop going. Like, I don't care about Jeff Johns and his love of like these like seminal stories that is just like, oh, we have to write fan fiction about these like 10 stories over and over again.
But it's not even like that. It's more like just remember there was another story.
Yeah.
It's not even like additive.
Yeah, it's so dumb. But yeah, then it's the son of the Joker, which, okay, I knew there was a daughter of the Joker, but I guess this is the son of the Joker. But psych, he's dead.
And the big twist ending is that it was also the Batman's birthday. What? Okay, what did that have to do with anything? Oh boy. Jeff Johns.
That was terrible.
Jeff Johns.
That story was terrible.
Really bad.
It was. Fortunately, it was only like 4 pages. So.
Yeah, but like one of the pages is just wasted like on lighting up a birthday cake. I mean, I do like the one thing where he's like they're testing their daughter Echo, because it's Batman Catwoman's daughter, I guess. I don't know why you're establishing all this never to pay it off or even like tell something interesting. But like Echo, what's the clue?
For Jeff Johns, the payoff is always, I'm going to show you something that is reminiscent of a thing you've already seen, and that's your payoff.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand like in another future story, like you can do like a whole Batman of the Future story in 6 pages and do something like interesting, but this isn't the way to do it.
Oh, because it stopped also being about Batman in the future and started to be about the Joker and birthdays. And yeah, I don't know.
I do like the moment though, like Echo, what do you see? He's like, well, Ace loves food, but he's not gonna eat that cake, so it's probably poisoned. Like, good. And
go.
I'm like, all right, cool. Dogs don't eat poison cake. I'm in. That part, I'm like, cool, good. You earned your keep, Jeff Johns. That made the story worth it.
All right. The next one was by James Tinian IV and Alvaro Martinez Bueno.
So James Tinian IV was a co-writer with Scott Snyder on a few issues of the Batman run, and then also wrote the kind of spin-off Talon, which was about like one of the owls who decided to be good, which read a lot like a Bucky Winter Soldier character.
Is that the guy in gold in the back?
That's a great question.
Maybe. I don't know a lot of those those fools.
I think that was the one guy I was like, who the hell is that?
No, that's a dude from Snyder's run, though, but I don't know his name.
All right, we'll get there.
That's the one guy I don't know who that is.
I like this story. This one was another like very competent, but also like had a very clear message from start to finish. But was also like its own kind of like, for this one, we're going to think about Robin, and it's Batman and Bruce Wayne around the time that they're adopting Dick Grayson. Like, am I doing the right thing by trying to turn him into Robin? This sets a bad precedent. That means I have to do this with everybody. And Robin, who has been overhearing, says, no, actually, you set the precedent as soon as you started doing this, because you've like started it. Like, you kind of have to teach us all how to do it now. And I thought like that was a good story.
Yeah, I like. Yeah. This is the kind of thing I was expecting. That I was wanting. Yeah. But also, I like the kind of novelty of thinking like, oh, I never think of Bruce Wayne as like the first Robin. Like it's, like he's the first kid that like had to like take himself from being like broken to like fix himself, and I don't think of that.
Alfred even at one point was like, this won't be the first orphan that I've had to take care of in this mansion,
mm-hmm.
Right. Which are like, oh, that does, yeah.
Yeah, I would say this is the closest thing to an Alfred story.
Yeah.
Yeah, there wasn't much Alfred in any of this either. Yeah, but overall, I think this one is probably like, I wish they had all been like this, but in different ways. I say that, but I don't want them all to be like this. I want the writers to do their own thing. But
yeah,
right.
But this is like the feel that you want, right?
Yeah, but it's more that this is focused on the Bat family and it's focused on Robin, And I think when I was listening to our Action Comics episode again, like I think Chris like really hit the nail on the head. Is like if you had an editor that was consciously thinking like we have 96 pages of a Batman story, what stories do we want to tell? Well, we obviously want a Bat family story. We want how he interacts with the Justice League. We want some type of rogue story, something with the Joker for fuck's sake. You know,
yeah. One thing that I think this book is missing is like a villain's perspective type of story, and I think the closest thing is Bendis's, but it is a failure at that.
Right. That's also
also
true.
the Paul Dini one, like all the villains, but even then, it's
that's
barely their
that's
perspective.
not from their perspective. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like something where it's like the villain's kind of reflecting on Batman because it's like an anniversary type deal.
Isn't there a Batman animated series episode that's supposed to be really good like that?
That's the one with all the villains hanging out.
Yeah, Almost Got Him, like one of the most famous Batman animated series episodes. And so you don't have to do exactly something like that.
But I think that's how I would like plan that out. Like I want an Alfred story. I want this story. I want like, you know, an early days of Batman. I want like a future Batman story. Like, and even this is kind of mildly put together. Like they put the two future stories next to each other. They put the two Batman beating up criminals, like questioning whether or not that's right stories together. So there is like some consciousness there, but it's not there.
Yeah, it's weird. The next one is written by Tom King, art by.
And I don't know, like maybe it's just being too precious, but I think it would be good to have like some kind of frame story, like have Batman get like have some like lucky, you know, have somebody shoot him or something, or maybe not shoot him, but you know, have somebody like put his life in jeopardy or something that gets the Bat family together, and that lets them like tell stories about him.
Yeah.
And then that gets you a frame story too, and then when he recovers, you know, then you can sort of like, oh, okay, everything's fine, and you were able to sort of have this like one-off thing. Like I don't know, maybe that's too precious, but that way you have an arc, and then it's not just disconnected like rando stories.
I like that idea. I just think it would be difficult to get 10 writers to all make sure that their story can fit into this. But at the same time, you know, you have the stories, just make it work, right? You can make it work.
If you're literally just telling some story in DC Comics, if you're just like, okay, well, your character is, you know, I don't know, Damian. Then like tell a story from Damian's point of view where he, you know, has a story about Batman. You know, like I feel like you can do that, something like that, because then that's your only real limitation. You can just be anything about, you know, from his. That's the only thing that has to tie it together. But again, like I'm not an editor. I don't have to do this.
Yeah. So the next one I think I went into with the highest of hopes, the one written by Tom King, art by Tony S. Daniel and Joel Jones. Joel Jones.
So Tom King is the kind of current Batman writer.
And
Tony Daniel was a artist of Detective Comics during the New 52. So he's run Detective Comics before.
Okay. You know, this whole thing really drew me in, where it's like, okay, Bruce Wayne has gathered the entire Bat family together. There's something important going on, and the whole issue is them just kind of guessing at what it is. And so it really got me to lean in, figure out what was going on, see all these different personalities talking about stuff like, oh, is he kicking me out? Is this happening? Blah, 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 whatever. And it turns out he's just getting them all there to take a photo together.
Yeah.
And then he leaves the photo on the grave, his parents' grave, which like really ended up falling kind of flat for me. I didn't like that. I just didn't like it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Tom King. I still like you, but I didn't like that. It's all worth it for Ace the Bat Hound's face during the photo.
It's a cute pinup and everything, but as a story, it's kind of a letdown. But I do wish there's a little bit more of a payoff after that. But this is kind of what I wish getting everybody together had led to anything, because I was like, this is a cool idea. Like, I wish this was the first pages of something, you know?
Yeah. It also felt so forced, because he's like setting something up or whatever, and they're like, we got to get closer. We got to see what this is. We need to get closer. all right, we need to get closer. And they all get closer just enough to be in a perfect pose for this picture. Like, that's where my suspension of disbelief just stops. Sorry. I cannot believe they all naturally posed for a picture so perfectly. That's not how photos work.
Well, and this is again like an editor problem and a publication problem. It's a 2-page spread, but in the printed version, because this is one of those. It's a square back book. It's not a staple book.
Yeah.
So this is, and it's not in the fucking middle. Like, it's near the end. So Batman's nose and like half of his eye and like half of the bat signal is just like doesn't exist. You can't spread out this page easily. So it doesn't pay off right.
That's
That's
too bad.
more a printing issue.
That's too bad. Too bad.
Yeah.
I think we were trying to figure out who the yellow guy was. I want to say his name is like Batwing or something. And I know that the girl on the far right, who's kind of kneeled over, she was kind of recruited by Batman during Snyder's run. But I think spoilers back, Chris, I think is what you noted.
Yeah.
I was
And
gonna say
Vincent-
that's Cassandra Cain, former Batgirl, isn't it? Or is that not what she's calling herself anymore?
Well, there's Cassandra Cain and there's Stephanie Brown. They're both back, I think. At this point.
But neither are Batgirl, or have yeah.
Yeah.
I do want
back to being Batgirl.
I want to call out Vincent Price making his debut in the Bat Family, right behind Batman
Love
there.
it.
All right, so I think on to so after this we get a few nice little art pages. They're all nice. I kind of thought the whole rest of the book was going to be that, but really the last story is a whole lot of splash pages, kind of like that one that you really liked in Action Comics.
Yeah, this one doesn't work the same way because it doesn't. Because the one in Action Comics had like all of Superman's different costumes throughout the years. Right. So it had like his electric costume, and then it had like one with the 4 like Supermen who had come back after Superman died. So this is literally the same Bat costume throughout the whole thing, but it's similarly constructed.
So this story is all from the point of view of a villain. We don't really know which villain until the end, but he's reliving Batman's experiences, like thinking about them, and so it's all splash pages from Batman's stories and everything. It's like, oh, this is the kind of guy he is, and look, he's fought Bane and even women and shirtless fighting and Mr. Freeze and all this sort of stuff. And it just turns out it's the next villain for the next arc. The Arkham Knight, who will deliver justice to the Batman. This was written by Peter J. Tomasi and Doug Mankey. I think you guys were saying as we went through that you didn't care about this villain at all.
No.
Which, look, it makes sense. I don't care about him either, but I think if you're going to try and tease the villain for your next arc, in this book, this is the best way to do it. Just make it splash pages of this villain, like, hey, I also read Batman comics. I know what's up, you know?
Yeah.
And just call it a day.
It's called Detective Comics. I wish if he could have some kind of, I don't know, being a detective or something.
That's fair.
Something to think about.
Well,
that's fair.
And my beef is, again, a printing issue, is that it's the last page, and the back cover likes to open up. So I just had this book like lying on my table, and I see the splash page of this final villain calling himself the Arkham Knight in a big font, like just sitting on my coffee table before I even got to this story. So I'm like, okay, we're having 8 pages to get to a reveal. Like, I would put some bumper ads, which is another weird thing about this book. This book has no ads in it. No promo ads for other DC books. No, just ads in general. Like
the digital version definitely does. The digital version has an ad for Batman and the Outsiders.
This has nothing. It just has Shazam on the back cover of the movie.
Oh, all right.
Well, anyway, he looks like Prometheus, the Justice League anti-Batman.
Yeah, he looks like that. Or
I do
he looks
like
like
that.
Does to me, which not. It's,
Yeah.
It's just like, okay, so we're going to the back to the 90s. Okay, cool.
I think he looks like a big bad Beetleborg.
He doesn't have a little antenna.
He kind of looks like he does, though. Like those things on the side of
If
his
the final
face come
page was a big bad Beetleborg, I would say I'm in. Like,
Oh man, like that's a team up that we need to see. Batman and the Big Bad Beetleborg.
I heard that Batman in the Ninja Turtles comic was supposed to be really good.
Maybe we'll have to read that one. Batman, there's no shortage of Batman team ups. Boy. All right. So that was it for Detective 1000. Overall, I think we've given our opinions throughout this whole thing. Is there much we need to talk about again?
I talked about this last year, and I'll talk about it again this year. Is I think that this needed like an editor with some type of consistency throughout the book, in terms of like approach, but also the thing that bothers me about this story is, and it did about Action Comics, is the credits for each story is inconsistently placed. Sometimes it's at the first, sometimes it's at the end, sometimes it's in the middle of the story. So
it doesn't bother me.
It bothers the shit out of me. I would like a consistent titling for every story, either like as a framing device, like Chris suggested, or like
strong disagree.
So let me read you when the credits are on each story of all the 10 stories.
No, they're all going to be different.
It's
it doesn't
one
matter.
First, last.
Oh my
second,
God.
third, first, third, second, first, last. Like, come on.
It depends on the story. I think it depends on the story and when the story wants you to care enough about the credits. And I think it's different.
Hard disagree. I think that if you're doing a big story like this, I think you should have some type of consistency.
The art changes and it's a different story, and that's all that matters. I think.
I'm Team Kia on this argument.
Yes.
Yeah. That's why you guys aren't professional letterers, because y'all don't care about these things. Come see me at C2E2 when I talk all about where to place your. I have a whole panel on where to place your title credits in your book.
It tells your audience you're reading a new story if you turn the page and you're like, new credits.
Yep, exactly.
All right. So I think we are done with Detective Comics 1000. Anybody going to keep reading with 1001?
Nope. I come back for issue 2000.
Okay.
Call me in 80 years.
Once every 1,000 years, or once every 1,000 issues. Oh, great. So we are on to Secret Wars number 11. A lot of stuff happened here in this issue.
This was a real issue.
Yeah. I feel like we're super back on track. Doom's face is healed. He's glowing. He's got the Beyonder's powers. He has killed the Beyonder. Whoa. All right. He's talking to all the heroes, and all the villains are like, man, what's Doom doing talking to those heroes? Is he double-crossing us? And they jump to conclusions. Like, yeah, he's double-crossing us. And Molecule Man gets so mad. He loses his shit. Go ahead.
I like the Wrecking Crew. One of the Wrecking Crew members says, I say we should bash his skull in. And then another one says, us and what army? And I go, y'all have an army right fucking here. Y'all have had the army the last 10 issues. Yeah. Y'all are right here. This army. And then they're like, we should just scram.
Yeah. Molecule Man is like, all right, I'm going to get him. He throws all the villains somewhere. Goes up to Doom, and Doom's like, yeah, this is the power I knew you always had. I'm going to open your mind, man. And so now Molecule Man's like confident, and he's like, all right, I'm the leader of the bad guys now. Cool. I don't know what to do, though. Let's go hang out somewhere and figure out what to do.
So
they go to that suburb of Denver and hang out in Volcana's apartment?
Yep. I love that. They're all just sitting on the couch, like hunched over. Like Mike Zeck's art is really doing it really good. Like everybody just kind of like in like natural poses, not like superhero poses. Like Mike Zeck is killing it this issue.
He did a great job.
Doc Ock, like the way that his like tentacle arms have to sit when he's sitting in a couch, like the way he has to hunch them over. Great. Good job.
And then what happens? Molecule Man like lifts up that entire suburb of was it Denver? Whatever.
Yeah, it's Denver. And they just fuck off. Like he just cuts it out like a big old crater just out of there. And Spider-Woman's like, wait, that's my town. Like
now that I know that thing actually existed, like I want to know more about that place. Like I want to see the story of these people landing in this world. Like, why is our suburb over here now? What is happening?
Do you think many people? I mean, I guess if they live in the suburb of Denver, they'd want to go to work in Denver theoretically. So they would know that something happened.
And this has been like weeks, right?
I mean, if you packed up my town, like I don't leave this town that frequently. Like I may not know for a while.
Right. Like, but you live in a big town where we can get, but that town would be cut off from everything that it needs. How are they getting
supplies, food? Yeah, I guess.
Like, where does their wastewater go?
Yeah, because like New York like fucking shuts down if it doesn't have like 3 days. It's like done in like 3 days, right?
Yeah,
Like when you have like blizzards and stuff. Like if stuff can't get in, like that whole town is fucked.
we're done.
So
All right. So, what else is happening? Middle of the night, Hulk is sleeping, and like some flash of light or something stings him. It's like an energy, and then later it jumps into Spider Woman. And
Hulk
Spider
is like
Woman is drawn.
sleepwalking, and she webs.
Yeah.
She keeps putting webs in the doorway to trip up people.
Yeah, she does it
times.
again later with somebody.
This is what I'm here for. I'm like Spider Woman's actually like doing shit like 4 issues in the
She's the only one. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, we don't really know what her powers are.
No. Do we ever actually find out what this energy thing is? I thought it was Doom because Doom like
I think it's
shows
the
up.
I think it's the Beyonder. I
Yeah,
have not read.
it seems like it's the
probably
Beyonder.
Beyonder.
Like he's still trying to like get back in because like we can just jump ahead for that part. That
Yeah.
through line is that he ends up possessing Spider Woman, and they can't find Spider Woman in the house, in Doctor Doom's house, and then he ends up possessing. Is it Molecule? No, it's Claw. It's Claw.
Yeah, and like I guess at this point he's in Claw's body.
Yeah.
We don't know. It'll probably get
And
paid
then,
off.
and then all the heroes leave because like cool, peace off, Doom. You seem like you're a good
Well,
guy.
okay, so we actually haven't gotten to that. So Doom invites them all to come meet him at Doom Tower. Like, hey, I'm in charge now. You can come chill with me. We'll have a meeting. See, look, I'm remaking Kang, and now I'm going to send him home. Bye. So, you see, I'm all powerful. Join me, do what I say, and everything will be good, right?
And then he's just chilling on a couch, and Captain America's like hunched over like on an ottoman or something. Which again, I love these hunched over art, and and Doctor Doom is just like, I love my mother.
Yeah, he's got a picture of his mom, and so Captain America was like, yeah, it's your mom, right? And he's like, yeah, she died, so I'm gonna bring her back. Which doesn't quite jive with Captain America because earlier Doom was like, oh, I'm all powerful, I've transcended everything because I'm just powerful, right? None of that other stuff matters. But then all the heroes are like, but he did fix his face, right? He still wants to be pretty. He wants to bring his mom back to life. This is still same old Doctor Doom. Y'all want to go fight him? Yeah, let's go fight him. And then their table explodes. Last page, the end.
Yeah.
What? I love that last page. Caught me so off guard where just like some bolt of lightning and a giant Shrek sound effect. And hey, issue's over. Great.
It's like the end of Time Bandits.
And meanwhile, Colossus makes a love connection.
Oh yeah,
his
he like
Zashi.
takes over that healer lady.
He brings her some flowers, and she's like, "What's this?" in the first panel, and then she's like, "Oh, okay, I guess we'll bang." And then
Johnny has been blowing her off for like 5 issues now. He blew her off. He's like, I care more about Reed Richards' big brain than some floozy or whatever it was he said.
Oh, the Chippy.
Chippy, that's right.
Did you forget?
How could you forget the C word?
Yes. So Peter makes his move, and Wolverine is just like very pissed off about that happening. And he's just like, when I get back to Earth, I am telling Shadowcat immediately.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and they're also like,
he is a gossipy.
They also are like, hey, has anybody seen her dragon? It was here with us. And also her boyfriend is banging this other lady. So we should probably find that dragon so it's not like a double whammy for her.
It is funny.
Yeah, and then he's literally like about to make out and possibly start rounding some bases, and then Professor X is like, Colossus, we have an important meeting. And he's like, seriously, Professor X, not now.
Yeah, bad timing. So all this is going to wrap up next time. Vince, were you saying something?
I did look up Chippy on UrbanDictionary.com. It's
Yeah.
either a California Highway Patrol officer, often used by truckers to warn each other of the highway patrols about, or a female prostitute, especially a young and inexpensive one.
Oh.
Ooh.
That's probably the closest to Urban Dictionary. That's from 2003. So, I mean, that's only like 30 years removed from this story. So that's probably close.
Okay. It's, yeah.
Or where you buy fish and chips. I don't know. I don't think it's that, though.
That's a chippery.
A chippery.
No, I'm
Chippery.
All right. So
Mary Poppins has come out. That means it's time to end the show.
Yep. So this is all ending next time. Secret Wars 12. We're also going to read some Avengers stuff. That new Avengers. I didn't realize that's coming out. Is that this month?
Yeah, Avengers is so this comes out on the 10th, and Avengers is out on the 26th or 27th. So yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So next episode will be our last episode before Avengers 4 comes out.
Okay. Great. We're reading a two-parter about the Avengers. It's a 12-issue miniseries called Avengers Forever. It's all about Kang the Conqueror, some time travel stuff, some Rick Jones stuff. We'll see. I've never read it. Vince has never read it. Chris,
I've never read it either.
You've read it, right, Chris?
Yes.
Yes.
Chris insisted that we had read it for this show.
Yes. I was confused and thought we had read it, but I was thinking of Ultron.
So
oh yeah,
we're in an alternate
timeline.
timeline. Had read in an alternate timeline. We read Avengers Forever
instead of Ultron.
Yeah,
that makes sense. Also by Kurt Busiek and Roger Stern, art by Carlos Pacheco. Yeah, late 90s. Should be pretty good. Avengers Forever. Join us for it, please. Please. Was that too beggy? Yeah, you know what? I'm begging her. If they made it this far, then they're gonna stick around. Like, we fucking got you in the palm of our hands. You'll be here next time. Yeah. Is that good? Should I be insulting the listener?
Fuck them. We don't need you.
Wow.
But you know who does need? Actually, probably they don't need it because they have better listenership than us. Your Stupid Minds, starring our friend Chris. Chris, how's that going over there?
It's going great. We just had our 150th episode. It was a spectacular Neil Breen anniversary episode. And we have another episode that should be coming out pretty soon before after this episode, but before your next episode, which means we'll be getting back on a regular schedule after taking a little bit of a break.
A nice twisted pair of episodes.
Exactly.
I listened to that one. It was a good one.
Yep.
Neil Breen is always a good listen.
Yes, he's a special kind of crazy.
Great. You know what I realized we didn't do any panel of the week stuff. I did mention my favorite panel, which was 1930s Batman driving that car. Hell yeah. Did you guys have a particular panel you wanted to mention?
The panel where he's like, my friend Langford's been murdered. You want to come? I'm like, yeah, sure. I got nothing else to do. That one was great. And then literally when the town when Spider-Woman's town just flew off into space. She's like, hey. Yep. Like, I like that.
Chris, you got anything?
Jeez. Let's see. I liked, it's hard to think of just one, but I really liked the Paul Dini, Dustin Nguyen story. So maybe, when, the Riddler, or when a Mad Hatter is yelling at, his henchmen, because he fell asleep. I like that scene.
Great. And there you have it, your panels of the week. We didn't forget. We did it. Oh, all right.
We got Reddit. That big Reddit thread on us.
We got him. All right, so I think we're done. Boy, what a great anniversary episode. This was our 101st episode. Why didn't we do Dalmatians?
It's been 100 episodes since our first issue. Oh, why aren't we doing 102 Dalmatians from Disney Adventures? That adaptation. We should do that next time.
Nope. I'm ending this now before we change our minds. All right. Vince and Chris and myself, Kia, thank you so much. We love you, and we'll see you next time.
Have a chippy night.
All right.